We are HistoGate Chronicles, and this is the inaugural episode of our brand new series, Hidden History.
Welcome aboard. Yeah, for years we've been really fascinated by, the stories that kind of get swept under the rug.
The ones the official histories politely skip over.
Exactly. The heavily redacted files, the conveniently misplaced memos, those moments when governments seem to decide the past needs a little bit of tidying up.
Well, that's precisely the mission of this new series. Every deep dive we do here is going to analyze one of the incredible stories from our books about real historical conspiracies and cover-ups. We're here to bring you the truth that's, lurking just beneath the surface.
And for this first one, we're kicking things off with a story that's got everything. Electricity, genius, espionage, maybe even the ultimate hypothetical weapon. Our focus for this first deep dive is the really profound mystery surrounding Nikola Tesla's death. We're calling it the Tesla Enigma.
Oh, the story is fantastic. It really has it all. You've got the sheer brilliance of the man who basically electrified the modern world.
Right.
Then there's the sadness of his final years, living alone in that hotel. And then boom, his death in 1943 triggers this immediate, almost frantic national security scramble.
Yeah, we're talking FBI, a really secretive government agency, descending on his New York hotel room almost before the body was cold.
And they weren't there to mourn him, were they?
No, not at all. They were there for his secrets. Specifically, these claims he'd made about a revolutionary particle beam weapon. He called it Teleforce, or sometimes more optimistically, the Peace Ray.
That's it. So our mission today is to unpack how 80 steamer trunks stuffed full of notes and designs from one of history's greatest minds suddenly became classified material.
And why, decades later, the government is still blacking out memos about the whole affair. What are they still hiding?
Okay, before we really dive in, just want to let you know that this story, the Tesla Enigma, it's one of 5 incredible stories in our book, The Secret History of Science, Volume 1.
That's right. So if you want the full detailed history, all the sources, everything laid out, the link to the book is right there in the episode description. Easy to find.
All right, get ready. This is where genius meets the security state. Okay, let's unpack this. So, to really get why the U.S. government freaked out, you have to picture Nikola Tesla's final decade. It's kind of sad, actually.
Yeah, from about 1933, right up until he died in 43, room 3327 of the Hotel New Yorker.
Yeah.
That was basically his world, his refuge, but maybe also his cage.
Right. And our sources, they paint this picture. Stacks and stacks of notebooks, equations everywhere.
A 2-room suite overlooking Manhattan. And apparently you could almost feel the hum of his brain working. Some people even said you could smell ozone, from his constant thinking, maybe experiments.
But physically, he was a shadow of his former self, surviving on, warm milk and Nabisco crackers?
Yeah, warm milk, crackers,
Yeah.
feeding pigeons. That was his famous eccentricity. The man who once wowed investors and scientists, now this nearly penniless 86-year-old figure.
And the end, when it came, was quiet. Or seemed quiet, sometime around January 7th, 1943.
Right, he had the Do Not Disturb sign out. The chambermaid, Alice Monahan, she finally went in on the 8th, found him passed away.
Official cause.
Coronary thrombosis. Heart failure. A lonely end for the guy whose inventions basically power our world and let us talk across continents.
But that silence, that loneliness, it was a total illusion, was it, in the context of the time?
Absolutely not quiet for the government. You have to remember, this is January 1943. World War II is absolutely raging.
The darkest days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the U.S. is in this state of, hyper-paranoia, pouring insane amounts of money into secret projects. The Manhattan Project is underway.
Building the bomb.
Right. In that atmosphere, even a scientist's wildest claim wasn't just dismissed. It was seen as a potential, maybe even existential threat.
Even though the mainstream scientific establishment, MIT and places like that, they'd kind of written Tesla off by then, hadn't they?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
They saw him as this brilliant mind who'd gone off the rails. His later ideas, like the world system for broadcasting power wirelessly, they mostly just dismissed it as fantasy. Impossible.
But there was one fantasy, one claim they just couldn't risk ignoring.
Teleforce, the so-called Peace Ray.
He didn't see it as an offensive weapon, did he? More like the ultimate shield.
That was his pitch.
Yeah.
He said it would make war impossible, a perfect defensive tool. He pitched it everywhere, publicly, privately.
And he was specific about how it worked, not just vague ideas.
Surprisingly specific. There's a 1934 letter where he lays it out. He wasn't talking about a laser beam, not like we think of it.
Uh-huh.
He described it as like a focused stream of microscopic particles, tiny pellets almost, accelerated to nearly the speed of light, fired from a big power station on the ground.
Okay, and the capability he claimed, this is what must have set off alarm bells.
Oh, yeah. He claimed this beam could take down, get this, a fleet of 10,000 enemy aircraft.
10,000.
10,000. From 250 miles away, instantly. Basically creating this impenetrable electromagnetic wall around a country.
Wow. Okay, I can see why, even if they thought it was nuts, they couldn't just ignore it. Not in 1943?
Exactly. The impossible was suddenly seeming possible everywhere else, like with the atomic bomb project. So the government had to know if there were actual plans, actual schematics in those notebooks.
Even if just to keep them out of German or Japanese or even Soviet hands.
Precisely. The risk was too high. That claim, that potential, is what triggered the federal panic.
The book really captures the scale of this idea. Let me read this bit. In a 1934 letter, he had detailed a weapon that would make war impossible. This beam, projected from a ground-based station, could allegedly bring down a fleet of 10,000 enemy aircraft from 250 miles away, creating an impenetrable wall of force around a nation's borders. He called it his peace ray, the ultimate defensive tool to render armies and navies obsolete.
Just the idea. You can see why security officials would want to lock that down immediately. So, Tesla dies. The news hits the intelligence channels.
Wow.
And it's a race. They need to secure everything in that hotel room fast.
Right. But the first person who actually shows up is Sava Kasanovich, Tesla's nephew. He's the legal heir.
Which should be straightforward. But here's the kicker for the U.S. government. Kasanovich wasn't just the nephew.
He was also the Yugoslav ambassador in exile.
Exactly. Allied government, sure, but Yugoslavia was complicated, fractured. And to someone like J. Edgar Hoover at the FBI, that made Kasanovich instantly suspicious.
Hoover's whole deal was monitoring foreign influence, right? So a foreign diplomat heir.
Red flags everywhere. Declassified memos show Hoover basically hitting the panic button. He warned that Kasanovich, with his, quote, murky allegiances, might leak secrets to the enemy.
Which could mean the Axis powers, or even the Soviets, who were allies then, but Hoover was already thinking post-war.
Definitely. But there's a big legal problem for Hoover. Tesla was a naturalized U.S. citizen.
So his stuff, his estate, should have been handled by New York state law, not the feds.
Correct. The FBI didn't just have jurisdiction to waltz in and grab everything. They needed a loophole, a clever, maybe ruthless, legal maneuver.
And they found one. This is where the Office of Alien Property Custodian comes in, the APC.
That's it, the APC. Now, this agency was set up to manage or seize property owned by enemy nationals during the war. Think German or Japanese assets in the U.S.
Okay. But Tesla wasn't an enemy national. He was American.
Correct. And the head of the APC, Leo T. Crowley, a big-time political fixer for FDR, running the FDIC and this powerful wartime agency simultaneously. A serious operator.
So how did they use the APC on an American citizen's property?
This is the genius, or the scary part. They couldn't seize the papers because Tesla was American, but the heir, Kasanovich, was a foreign national.
So they went after the heir's potential access.
Precisely. The APC declared it had the authority to act as a custodian, not seizing the property for the government, but protecting it from the foreign national heir.
Wow, that's a twist.
It's a perfect legal fiction. It completely bypassed New York state law and immediately turned this private inheritance issue into an urgent matter of federal security under wartime powers.
And it happened fast.
Blindingly fast. Federal agents sealed room 3327 right away, seized the hotel safe, but it wasn't just the one room.
They went looking elsewhere, too.
Oh, yeah. It was like an intellectual excavation across Manhattan. Coordinated raids on the New Yorker hotel, the Governor Clinton Hotel, where he'd also stayed, various storage facilities, wherever he might have stashed papers.
And the haul was huge. You mentioned 80 trunks.
Approximately 80 steamer trunks, crates, cabinets. Imagine 80 containers filled with a lifetime of obsessive, probably chaotic notes and blueprints.
What kind of stuff was in there beyond the obvious scientific notes?
Everything. Blueprints, sure, calculations about cosmic rays, but also personal letters, his correspondence, even mundane things like his clothes, his hats.
They took his hats.
Apparently. And get this, they even took possession of his death mask. You know, the plaster cast made of his face right after he died.
Okay, that's thorough, almost forensic confiscation.
Absolutely. Nothing left behind that might hold a clue. You can almost feel the panic of the nephew, Kasanovich. He realized this whole legacy was just disappearing into some government warehouse.
Did he try to stop it? Or at least see what was being taken?
He tried. He brought in a science journalist, Kenneth Sweezy, to try and do a quick inventory, just to get some record. But it was hopeless. They were overwhelmed.
So the government just took it all.
Shipped it under guard to the Manhattan Storage and Warehouse Company. And in that moment, Tesla's work stopped being a scientific legacy and became a state secret. A quiet, bureaucratic hijacking.
Let me show how the book describes this legal move.
The logic applied to Tesla's estate was a masterstroke of bureaucratic warfare. Because the primary heir, Kasanovich, was a foreign national, the APC declared its authority to act as a custodian to protect the property. This legal fiction was brilliant.
Brilliant and maybe a little terrifying. Shows what can happen when security is invoked.
Okay, so the government has the goods, 80 trunks locked away. But now what? They don't actually know if there's anything useful in there, right? Is it the key to winning the war or just ramblings?
Exactly. They needed someone to figure it out. Someone credible, trusted, deep inside the wartime scientific machine.
Dr. John G. Trump.
That's him. No relation to the recent president. This was his uncle, a very distinguished MIT professor. And crucially, he was plugged right into the military science network.
How so?
He was an aide to the NDRC, the National Defense Research Committee, which itself was part of the OSRD, the Office of Scientific Research and Development.
OSRD. That was Vannevar Bush's operation, right? The guys running the Manhattan Project, radar development.
The very same. The OSRD coordinated all major U.S. wartime science. So John Trump wasn't just some random professor. He was the ultimate insider, a loyal soldier in that system.
Okay, so they send Trump in January 43 to assess the papers for the APC. Makes sense. But the time frame, that's where it gets weird. Weird is an understatement. Our research confirms it. 3 days.
3 days.
Less than 72 hours to go through 80 trunks, representing a lifetime of incredibly complex, radical, often cryptic scientific work.
That's not an assessment. That's barely a skim read, it sounds like. Like rapid triage in an emergency room.
That's a perfect description. The question wasn't, is this potentially brilliant science for the future? The question was, is there anything in here we can use to beat Hitler right now?
And Trump gave them the answer they needed, or maybe wanted.
He gave them the perfect bureaucratic off-ramp. His official verdict, delivered to the APC, was clear and dismissive. He declared the work, let me get the wording right, speculative, philosophical, and somewhat promotional in character.
Ouch. Promotional.
Yeah. And he concluded there were no, quote, sound workable principles or methods for achieving the things Tesla claimed, especially the Teleforce ray. It was officially declared a ghost on paper. Dead end.
And that verdict coming from an MIT guy, an OSRD insider, that basically shut down the panic, right? It defined the official story for decades.
It did. But you have to ask, how objective could he really be? 3 days. Under immense pressure from Vannevar Bush and the OSRD, who were laser-focused on projects with immediate results.
Like radar, like the bomb, things they knew were working or close to it.
Exactly. Tesla's ideas, even if they had potential, would have needed years, maybe decades, of research. Huge investment. Time and money they just didn't think they had in the middle of the war.
So wait, maybe Trump's report wasn't scientifically dishonest, but rather strategically necessary. A way to say, look, this is interesting, maybe, but it's a distraction right now. Protect scarce resources.
That's a really important way to look at it. It might not have been corruption in the simple sense, but wartime expediency. His report served a vital bureaucratic purpose.
It calmed everyone down.
Right. It smothered the internal panic, gave official justification for keeping this stuff locked up and not pouring resources into it, and redirected attention to the projects that were already showing promise. It let the government officially say, nothing to see here, move along.
And that official nothing burger gave them cover for years. Here's the key quote from Trump's report that did the job. After examining papers on particle beams and wireless power, Trump declared Tesla's work speculative, philosophical, and somewhat promotional in character. He found no sound, workable principles or methods for realizing such results. The death ray, he concluded, was a ghost on paper.
That dismissal was incredibly convenient for the wartime establishment. Case closed. Officially. So Trump issues his report. Officially, the papers are useless. But they don't destroy them. They don't give them back right away.
No, they stay locked up. For how long?
9 years. All through the end of the war, all through the beginning of the Cold War until 1952. Those 80 trunks just sat there, in limbo, under the control of the alien property custodian.
9 years. That seems long if the stuff was truly worthless.
Doesn't, and think about the irony. While the U.S. is sitting on this massive archive from Tesla, this homegrown genius.
So busy importing Nazi scientists, Operation Paperclip.
Exactly. Bringing in German rocket scientists and aviation experts to get an edge over the Soviets, while potentially ignoring revolutionary ideas from an American inventor already in their possession.
So why hold on to them for 9 years if they were just speculative, bureaucratic inertia, or something else?
Well, inertia plays a part, sure. But more importantly, those 9 years gave U.S. intelligence agencies nearly a decade of completely unrestricted, exclusive access to everything. Tesla's entire life's work.
Ample time to study, analyze, maybe copy things.
You'd think so. And this brings us back to the nephew, Sava Kasanovic.
Right, the Yugoslav ambassador. What was happening with him?
By the early 1950s, he's not just an ambassador in exile, he's a minister in Marshal Tito's Yugoslavia. And Tito was interesting.
Be broken with Stalin, right. Communist but independent, a wild card.
A wild card? The West, especially the U.S., really wanted to court, to pull away from the Soviet sphere of influence.
Ah, so Kasanovic had some leverage now.
He did. He's been fighting for years, diplomatically, to get his uncle's property back. And now, with Yugoslavia playing this key geopolitical role, Washington finally decides to relent in 1952.
So they gave the papers back.
They did. It looks like a political calculation. Yugoslavia paid about $25,000 in estate taxes, and the U.S. government shipped the 80 trunks to Belgrade. They became the foundation of the Nikola Tesla Museum there.
Okay, so on the surface, that seems like the right thing. The heir finally gets the legacy. End of story.
Well, maybe not quite end of story. Was this really full disclosure, or was it more like political theater, a Cold War transaction?
What makes you say that?
Think about the timing and the technology of the era, the early 1950s. That's the absolute peak of the microfilm era.
Ah, spy cameras, secret copying.
Intelligence agencies had gotten incredibly good at clandestine duplication, making tiny copies of vast amounts of documents. And then there are the shipping manifests themselves.
The lists of what was actually sent to Belgrade.
Yeah. Our sources say those manifests were incredibly vague. They listed, crate #1, barrel #7, but no detailed, itemized inventory of the actual documents inside each container.
So there's no official record of exactly which papers went back.
Not a specific one, though, which leaves a massive hole. It begs the question, is it really plausible? Is it really plausible that U.S. intelligence, after 9 years of access during the tensest part of the early Cold War, with the technology to copy anything, would just let potentially groundbreaking particle beam designs leave the country without making copies, especially if they're related to defense?
Yeah, when you put it like that, it sounds unlikely, very unlikely.
The consensus among researchers who dug into this is pretty much no way. The transfer to Belgrade likely achieved two things.
Okay.
One, it solved a diplomatic problem with Tito, which was a win for the U.S. State Department. Two, it created the illusion of transparency in return. The public gets a museum in Belgrade.
While the really sensitive stuff, the technical analyses, maybe feasibility studies, could have been quietly microfilmed and filed away somewhere deep inside the U.S. military system.
That's the strong suspicion. The physical return was stagecraft. The real secrets, if any were deemed vital, likely stayed behind.
The book touches on this ambiguity. Let me read this part.
The critical question was not what was returned, but what may have been duplicated or withheld. The shipping manifests were models of bureaucratic vagueness, listing crates and barrels, but providing no itemized inventory of the documents within. Here, documented history bleeds into reasoned speculation.
Reasoned speculation. Based on a distinct lack of proof, they sent everything back. We're left wondering about that shadow library. Okay, so for decades, the official line held. Tesla stuff was interesting but useless. It got returned to Yugoslavia, nothing more to see here. But then modern times happen.
Right. Laws change. Specifically, the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA. This allows researchers, journalists, anyone really, to request government documents.
And people started asking for the Tesla files, the FBI files, the APC files.
They did. And what they got back wasn't exactly clarity. It was more like a mosaic of government surveillance, heavily censored.
You mean redactions, blacked out lines?
Oh, yeah. Thick black lines, entire pages sometimes completely whited out. These aren't just, protecting someone's phone number. These are deep, aggressive redactions.
What does that tell you? If the stuff was useless, why redact anything 80 years later?
It tells you that something related to Tesla and the government's handling of his work is still considered an active state secret. Maybe related to specific technical details they did find useful. Maybe related to ongoing projects. Maybe just protecting sources and methods. Whatever it is, it's not useless.
The redactions themselves prove ongoing secrecy. But did anything concrete come out of those FOIA requests? Anything that contradicts the official story?
Oh, yes. Something explosive. Something that completely demolishes Dr. Trump's 1943 verdict that the papers were worthless.
Okay, what is it?
The documents reveal that the military's interest in Tesla's ideas absolutely did not end in 1943, Trump's dismissal. It seems that people actually building advanced weapons just ignored it.
How do we know?
We have documents released under FOIA showing that the Air Technical Service Command at Wright Field formally requested access to Tesla's papers.
Wright Field. That's the big Air Force research base, right? Wright-Patterson now.
That's the one. The nerve center for cutting-edge U.S. military aviation tech. Jet engines, radar, classified stuff. And when did they request access to Tesla's useless papers?
When?
1945. 2 full years after Dr. Trump had officially declared them speculative and containing no workable principles.
Wow. Okay, that changes everything. 2 years later, the top aviation R&D guys want to see them.
It proves the military, or at least parts of it, never bought the official dismissal. They were still looking, still hunting for something potentially revolutionary in those trunks, especially as the war was ending and they were looking towards future threats.
They must have suspected there was more to it than Trump let on. Or maybe they just wanted a second look with different eyes.
Possibly. They clearly saw potential, or at least enough questions, to warrant pulling those files out of storage again. And this documented interest, according to researchers who track these things, it didn't just fade away. It seems to have coalesced into something specific.
Something classified.
Highly classified. This is where the name Project Nick surfaces in the research literature.
Project Nick, what was that?
Sources indicate Project Nick was a top-secret program run out of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, focused specifically on exploring the feasibility of particle beam weapons.
Particle beams. So, Teleforce. A direct continuation of the search.
It certainly looks that way. The existence of Project Nick strongly suggests that the military did find something intriguing in Tesla's papers, despite the official denial.
And it supports the idea that the really crucial stuff probably never went to Belgrade.
Exactly. Any truly vital technical details, feasibility studies, maybe even partial schematics, they wouldn't have shipped those overseas. They would have been absorbed into the Pentagon's Black Projects world. That classified archive, the real shadow library of Tesla's most radical ideas. That's likely what remains hidden today, protected by those thick black redaction lines.
So the official story from 1943 was just a cover, a smokescreen built on a rushed 72-hour assessment. The real story is in the redactions, and in that 1945 request.
The paper trail tells a very different story than the official press release. Let's hear that key detail again.
Dr. Trump's 1943 report had supposedly dismissed Tesla's work as useless. Yet the paper trail proves the military's interest was anything but settled. In 1945, documents show the Air Technical Service Command at Wright Field, the nerve center of advanced U.S. military aviation, formally requested and was granted access to Tesla's papers from the alien property custodian.
That single fact just blows the official narrative right out of the water. Decades of denial undone by one declassified memo. Wow, that was quite a deep dive. From a lonely hotel room in New York, all the way to, potentially, top-secret Air Force projects studying particle beams, all spinning out from Tesla's death.
It really makes you think, and we want to know what stood out most to you listening to this. Definitely join the conversation online. We're really curious about which parts of this whole saga, maybe surprised you or challenged what you thought you knew about Tesla or government secrecy.
Yeah, for instance, what do you make of that whole John G. Trump assessment? That 72-hour whirlwind review, was that just, honest science under pressure? Trying to focus resources, or was it more like wartime expediency, a convenient way to bury an idea that was maybe too weird or too long-term for them at the time?
Or how about that 1945 request from the Air Force, the one that came after the papers were officially declared useless? For you, does that fact basically prove the official story was just a cover, a deception aimed at everyone, foreign rivals, and the American public?
Let us know what you think. Find us on social media. This is, as we said, the very first deep dive in our new series, Hidden History. So please, if you enjoyed this, follow us, leave a review, subscribe, whatever you do on your podcast platform.
Yeah, your support really helps us keep digging into these incredible hidden stories. And don't forget, the full story we unpack today, the Tesla Enigma. It's laid out in much more detail in our book, The Secret History of Science, Volume 1.
That's right. And if you prefer listening, good news. You can listen to the audiobook version of this story completely free.
Yep, just check the episode description. The link is right there. Easy to find. Get the whole rich story.
Please do. It's a fascinating read, or listen. So just to quickly wrap up the journey those papers took, it starts with Tesla's lonely death, which immediately triggers that frantic seizure by the alien property custodian, that clever legal trick. Then comes the quick, convenient dismissal by Dr. Trump, giving them the official cover story.
Right. The nothing to see here report.
Then, years later, the carefully stage-managed return of some papers to Belgrade, solving a diplomatic issue. And finally, the lingering truth revealed by those FOIA requests, the heavy redactions, and that documented military interest, Project Nick.
You know, thinking about it, the seizure, the dismissal, keeping it all secret, it wasn't just about controlling potential weapon plans, was it? The real consequence, maybe the biggest one, was the creation of this powerful myth around Tesla.
That's a great point, absolutely. The secrecy itself turned Tesla into this kind of modern Prometheus figure, the suppressed genius, the prophet whose amazing inventions were stolen or hidden by the shadowy establishment.
The government's actions, the legal games, the quick dismissal, the information control, they basically forged that legend, didn't they? Made it way more potent than if they'd just been open about it.
Totally. They accidentally created the perfect conspiracy theory fodder and cemented Tesla's place in that narrative forever. The cover-up became more famous than whatever they were covering up, perhaps.
Yeah. Which leads to the ultimate paradox, doesn't it? By classifying everything, by containing it, by concealing Nikola Tesla's work, did the U.S. government actually do more to make his most radical ideas immortal than he ever could have done himself? It seems like the echo of stolen thunder can sometimes be a lot louder and last a lot longer than the original storm.
That's a fascinating thought to end on. Thank you so much for joining us for this very first Hidden History Deep Dive, looking into the Tesla Enigma. We really hope you enjoyed digging into this piece of obscured history with us.
Please join us next time when we tackle another incredible, often redacted story from The Secret History of Science, Volume 1. We truly appreciate your loyalty and your time. We'll talk to you soon. Goodbye for now.